So I was just noticing how people enter the room, and this is not a judgment at all. And some people walked in very casually in a very worldly manner. Other people were very careful and aware of and sensitive to the environment, and walked in with a particular degree of dignity and self-containment. And some people bowed and other people didn't. And there's general ability to, in this tradition, to use form as it helps us. And if we don't find it particularly helpful, then we don't enslave ourselves to form. But one form that I find is almost universally helpful because it's universally grating for most people is bowing. And the reason that I suggest bowing is because we're such a, our culture in particular is so filled with doubt. And to overcompensate for the doubt that we feel, we try to project a self-insulation, a self-reliance, a argument against authority. And bowing, lowering our head, feels like we're in submission somehow. And so, but anytime there's a grating feeling like that, you usually know you're going in the right direction. And so just the willingness to expose our arrogance, to expose our self-containment, to expose the conditioned way that we won't allow ourselves to be in submission is extraordinarily important, because the rigors of our self-reliance actually work against us at some point. It's also an advantage not to constantly lean on dependency of authority. But because it's an overcompensation to doubt, we really are very dependent upon authority. We just don't want to acknowledge it. And so, so we take small forms like bowing, and we try, to hold ourselves back from that sort of thing. What I do after I listen to the sound, because when you listen to the bell ring and the bell then tapers off, the form is meant to take us out of our thought stream. And whenever we are taken out of our stream of thought, there's something sacred that is revealed when we aren't thinking about life. That is only shielded by our thought. And so when the bell rings, and we allow ourselves to actually rise to the sound rather than to stay within the thought of where I need to go, there is a sense of spaciousness, a sense of openness, a sense of possibility and potentiality. And so what I do after that is I bow. I bow to that which has revealed itself to be greater than my own limitation and my own thought streaming. And when we are coming into the hall, we are acknowledging our intention to step out of ourselves into something other, a different context. And for me, a bow is an indication of that intent. And as we leave, when we leave the hall, we want to carry that intent forth. We want to reestablish a context for our life that is just not self-governed by our own interests. And so perhaps to bow upon leaving as well. Now, this is not hard and fast rules. If people have a deep ideological bias against bowing, or you've been in cults where bowing worked against you, then don't bow. I'm just suggesting that it can work. It can work to intercede between our arrogance so that we begin to see what we're carrying with us. One of the reasons that we delight so in being in nature is that nature doesn't hold self-interest. And therefore, we don't really understand it, but when we're out in it, we can relax our boundaries, our protection, because we aren't having to defend ourselves against the counterpoint of view, because nature doesn't hold a counterpoint of view. Now, it's very interesting that all of nature, none of nature holds a point of view except us, could our self-centered point of view be unnatural? It seems to me that that may be a better description than to think that we are somehow outside of nature and better than nature because of our self-centeredness. So this is whole retreat, and I hope your whole life is a reorientation to stepping out of self-centeredness, of our individual bias, of our self-conceit. And people get very frightened by that because they think it means giving up something tangible, something solid, something that they have relied upon. Well, I'm only suggesting that we step out of our image, nothing else. What we carry in terms of a circumscribed idea about ourselves. How we meet life constantly through the veil of our own pretense. And we're so caught up in the dynamics of self-protection that we never allow ourselves, or rarely allow ourselves, to feel what's outside of that, what's on the other side, what nature relishes in, but which we keep protecting ourselves from. And perhaps in meditation we get an inkling of that as we sit and we feel in the middle of our meditation some sort of release, some sort of openness, some sort of space that normally we don't carry. And this sense of feeling that we are more than what we have taken ourselves to be. And most of you in this room have had some indication of that. And yet we think it's our own property. We think it was of our own making. We think it was generated through our own will, our own control, our own hard effort. How do I get that back again, we say. It was a mistake that had happened. And it's waiting for us to release our self-centeredness so that mistake can reoccur. And so the aim of our meditation is not to reinforce the center, to reestablish ourselves and our power over things, but for something else to arise when we align ourselves with intent, with purpose, within a direction. That nature, the nature within us, the natural, can now manifest. The natural non-self-centeredness. The naturalness of it. And so meditation is really a journey back to nature. It's a journey back to our roots. We have just thought our way away from that natural, inherent part. So what is the value of meditation? It's not going to be that it builds upon our reputation, that it reestablishes a new image of me being a meditator. It's not going to recertify us in some drama or dramatic way. It's going to feel like a shedding, a releasing. It's going to feel like a lightening of the burden, a shedding of the burden. All the worry, all the ways that we have manufactured our own self-centeredness, all the things we have around it, the dynamics, the attitudes, the ways that we hold ourselves away from life, those boundaries have to be crossed. And so, as we sit, in whatever style we're sitting, there are certain fundamental ways that all styles need to resonate. And that is relaxation and ease. That is without resistance, without argument, facing life without turning away or avoiding, opening without contention, letting whatever there be there as a perfect right. It is our guardedness. It is our selectivity. This shouldn't be here, that should. That sets the boundary of our self-centeredness. Whatever is there has as much right to be there as the crow that just called. Let us engage our life now in a wise new direction towards what is natural.